the silence of an empty room, a dead phone rings and the voice on the other end knows your darkest secret. It was 1985, 7 years after Finney Blake escaped the basement of horrors. North Denver had tried to forget the grabber, the mass killer who stole kids from the streets. The town built parks where the old houses stood, and people whisper about it only on dark nights. But Finney couldn't forget. Now 20 years old, he lived a quiet life, working at a local garage, fixing cars to keep his hands busy and his mind off the past. His sister Gwen was 17, still sharp and tough with those strange dreams that came true sometimes. She had grown into a girl who didn't scare easy. But lately, the dreams were back. Black vans, masked faces, and a ringing phone that shouldn't ring. Gwen told Finney about them, but he brushed it off. It's over, Gwen. He's dead. We killed him. But it wasn't over. Kids started disappearing again. First, a boy named Tommy, snatched while biking home. Then a girl, Sarah, from the school playground. The police said it was a copycat, some sick person copying the grabber. But Gwen knew better. In her dreams, she saw the same basement, the same black phone on the wall. And the voices, they weren't the helpful ghosts from before. They were angry, twisted. One night, Gwen woke up sweating. The dream was clear. A new killer, calling himself the Echo, wearing a mask like the grabbers but with horns twisted like phone cords. He had found the old phone, dug it up from the ruins, and now it connected to something darker. Not just dead kids, but something evil that fed on fear. Finney didn't believe her until his own phone rang at 3 a.m. a landline in his apartment. The kind no one used anymore. He picked it up, heart pounding, static at first, then a voice. Low and raspy. Finney, you left me to rot, but I'm back. And this time, the phone calls for blood. He slammed it down, but the ringing didn't stop. Outside, in the shadows, a van idled. The Echo was watching. Gwen rushed over the next day. We have to find it, Finn. The phone. It's calling them the new victims. But now, it's not helping. It's luring them in. They decided to investigate. Finney dug up old news clippings. And Gwen talked to her friend Mia, whose brother was one of the missing. Mia said her brother heard a phone ring in an empty lot before he vanished. The same lot where the grabber's house once stood. As night fell, Finney and Gwen drove there. The ground was overgrown, but under the weeds, they found a loose board. Pulling it up, they saw steps leading down to a hidden room. The air was cold, like a grave, and there, on the wall, was the black phone. It started ringing as they stared. Finney reached for it, but Gwen stopped him. Don't. It's different now. Before they could leave, the door slammed shut behind them. Trapped, the phone kept ringing, and a masked figure stepped from the shadows. Welcome home. The Echo whispered. That was just the beginning of the nightmare. The air in the hidden room was thick, like breathing through a wet cloth. Finney and Gwen stood frozen, the black phones ringing, echoing off the concrete walls. The door had slammed shut, and no amount of pushing budged it. The Echo's voice still hung in the air, low and mocking. Welcome home. Finney's heart raced. He scanned the room bare, damp, with cracks spider-webbing the walls. The phone was the only thing alive in there, its shrill ring cutting through. Their panic, Gwen grabbed his arm. Don't touch it, Finn. It's not like before. But the ringing didn't stop. It grew louder, sharper, like it was inside their skulls. Finney's hands shook as he stepped toward the phone. We have to know, he said. What if it's the kids, Tommy or Sarah? Gwen's eyes were wide, but she nodded. Finney lifted the receiver. Static crackled, then a voice small, like a child's, but wrong, like it was stretched too thin. Finney, you didn't save us. Why didn't you save us? Who's this? Finney's voice broke. The line hissed, and another voice came, deeper, colder. You killed me. boy left me to rot. It was the grabber. Finney's knees buckled. You're dead. He whispered, I killed you. Laughter came through the phone. Sharp hand. Cruel. The phone doesn't let go. It keeps us. And now it wants you. The line went dead. But the room felt heavier. Shadows moved in the corners, like figures just out of sight. Gwen yanked Finney back. It's not just him. It's something worse. The phone's alive. They searched for a way out. Finney pounded the door. But it was solid, like it was sealed by something unnatural. Gwen ran her hands along the walls, looking for weak spots. She found scratches, names, dates, claw marks from kids who'd been trapped before. One name stood out, Tommy, carved fresh, with yesterday's date. Oh no, Gwen whispered. He's been here. A creak came from above. Footsteps. The echo was close. Finney grabbed a rusty pipe from the floor, ready to fight. Gwen's eyes darted to the phone as it rang again. Don't, she said. But Finney was desperate. He picked it up. This time, it wasn't a kid or the grabber. It was a woman's voice. Soft but venomous. You can't leave. The phone sees everything. It knows what you fear. Finney's mind flashed to his old nightmares, being trapped forever. Failing Gwen. Failing everyone. The voice laughed, like it saw his thoughts. The footsteps stopped. A shadow passed under the door. Then, a loud click. The door cracked open. Just an inch. Finney and Gwen froze. Pipe raised. Lily Innials. The echo's voice came through the gap. Run, and I'll find you. The phone always does. They didn't wait. Finney shoved the door open, and they ran up the stairs, into the dark lot. The van was gone. They sprinted to their car, hearts pounding, and drove away. But as they sped through the empty streets, the car radio crackled. A faint voice whispered through the static, you can't hide. They didn't sleep that night. Gwen stared at the ceiling, whispering, it's not just a phone, Finn. It's a door, and something's coming through. Finney and Gwen barely spoke the next morning. The radio's whisper from the night before clung to them like damp fog. They sat in Finney's tiny apartment, blinds drawn, jumping at every creak. The black phone's voice echoed in their heads, and the memory of the echo's masked horns twisted like phone cords made Gwen shiver. We can't just hide, Gwen said, her voice firm despite her pale face. We need to know what that phone is. Why it's back. Finney nodded, rubbing his eyes. He hadn't slept, haunted by the voice that sounded like the grabber. The library, he said. They've got old records, newspapers, maybe town. History, something about that house or the phone. They drove to the North Denver Library, a squat brick building with dusty windows. Inside, the air smelled of old paper. The librarian, an older woman with sharp eyes, pointed them to the archives in the basement. Be careful down there, she said. Some stories don't like being dug up. The basement was dim. With flickering lights, Finney and Gwen pored over yellowed newspapers and town records from the 1970s. They found articles about the grabber's killings, but nothing new. Then Gwen pulled out a crumbling ledger from 1965, labeled town utilities. It listed old phone lines, including one installed in the house where the grabber's basement was. The entry was strange. Special line, private install, no operator access, requested by Eharo. Who's Eharo? Finney asked, flipping through more pages. They found nothing else, but the name felt heavy, like it carried a shadow. Gwen's eyes widened as she opened another book, a local history pamphlet. It mentioned a man named Elias Harrow, a telephone repairman in the 1950s. He'd been fired after rumors he tampered with lines, making calls that scared people. One story said he'd been obsessed with an old rotary phone, claiming it spoke to the other side. He vanished in 1960, and his house, the same one, was sold. That's it. Gwen whispered. The phone was his. He did something to it. They kept digging, finding a grainy photo of Harrow. He was thin, with hollow eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. In the photo, He held a black rotary phone, its cord coiled like a snake. The caption read, Elias Harrow, local craftsman, 1958, as they read. Finney's phone buzzed in his pocket, not his cellar burner phone he kept in the car. He answered, heart pounding, static, then the woman's voice from the basement. You're looking in the wrong places, Finney. The phone doesn't like questions. He dropped the phone, and it clattered on the table. Gwen grabbed his arm. We need to leave, now. They hurried upstairs, but the library felt wrong. The lights flickered faster, and the air grew cold. At the exit, the doors wouldn't budge. A shadow moved behind the shelves, a figure in a horn mask. The echo. He didn't speak, just tilted his head, watching. Finney grabbed a chair, ready to smash the door, but Gwen pulled him toward a side window. They climbed out, scraping their hands on the frame, and ran to their car. As they sped away, Gwen looked back. The echo stood in the library doorway, holding the black phone, its receiver pressed to his mask. Back at the apartment, Gwen sketched the mask from memory, her hand shaking. It's not just a killer, Finn. The phone's using him like it used the grabber. Finney stared at the sketch. Then we find out what Harrow did to that phone and how to stop it. But that night, as they planned, the apartment phone rang. No one had the number. Finney didn't answer, but the ringing didn't stop. And outside, Evan idled in the dark. The ringing phone in Finney's apartment didn't stop until dawn. Each chime felt like a needle in his skull. Gwen sat on the couch, clutching her sketch of the echo's mask, her eyes bloodshot. We can't stay here, she said. It knows where we are. Finney nodded, his hands still shaking from the library escape. We need someone who knew Elias Harrow, someone who can tell us about that phone. They remember the librarian's warning about stories that don't like being dug up. She'd seemed to know something. They drove back to the library, careful to check for the van. The lot was empty, but the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. The librarian, Mrs. Cole, was at the desk, her sharp eyes narrowing as they approached. You're back, she said, her voice low. I told you to be careful. We need to know about Elias Harrow, Finney said. The phone he made. What was it? Mrs. Cole's face paled. She glanced around, then led them to a quiet corner. Elias was my uncle, she whispered. He was strange, obsessed with phones, always talking about voices from beyond. He said he could trap spirits in wires, make them speak. People thought he was crazy, but I saw it once. That black phone rang, and no one was on the line. But I heard breathing. Gwen leaned forward. What did he do to it? How do we stop it? Mrs. Cole hesitated. He said he made a deal. Something old, something dark, gave him power to bind souls to that phone. But it wasn't just souls, it was something worse. He never told me how to break it. Before he vanished, he hid his notes in the old mill outside town. Said it was the only place safe. Finney and Gwen exchanged looks. The mill was abandoned, a crumbling wreck by the river. They thanked Mrs. Cole and left, promising to be careful. But as they stepped outside, the air turned cold. A faint ring echoed from nowhere, like the phone was in the wind. They drove to the mill, a sagging building with broken windows and rusted machinery inside. It smelled of mold and oil. They searched for hours, finding nothing but cobwebs and red droppings. Then Gwen spotted a loose floorboard. Under it was a metal box, locked tight. Finney pried it open with a crowbar from the car. Inside were Harrow's notes, yellowed pages filled with frantic handwriting. He described a ritual, blood and words spoken to the voice in the wires. A thing that promised power, but demanded lives. The phone was its anchor, a way to pull fear and souls into its grip, to destroy it. The notes said, you had to cut the cord and burn the heart. But the heart wasn't clear. Maybe the phone itself. Maybe something else died as they read. The mill's shadows grew darker. A low hum filled the air, like a phone line vibrating. Gwen grabbed Finney's arm. He's here. Footsteps crunched. Outside, the Echo stepped through the doorway, his horn mask glinting in the moonlight. He held the black phone, its cord dragging like a tail. "You're learning too much," he said, his voice a hiss. "The phone doesn't like that." Finney swung the crowbar, but the Echo was fast, dodging and grabbing Gwen's arm. She screamed, kicking, but he dragged her toward the door. Finney charged, tackling him. The phone fell, skidding across the floor. The Echo laughed, shoving Finney back. "You can't break it. It's part of you now." Gwen broke free, grabbing the phone. She smashed it against the wall, but it didn't break. Instead, it rang louder, and the air pulsed with a low growl. The Echo lunged, but Finney swung the crowbar again, hitting his shoulder. The Echo staggered, then vanished into the dark. They ran to the car, the box of notes clutched tight. Back at the apartment, they spread the pages out, hearts pounding. The phone in the corner was silent, but they knew it wouldn't stay that way. Finney and Gwen sat in the dim light of the apartment. Harrow's notes spread across the table like a map to a nightmare. The words cut the cord and burned the heart, looped in their minds, but the meaning was foggy. The black phone sat in the corner, silent but heavy, like it was watching. Outside, the van hadn't reappeared, but they felt the Echo's presence, waiting. "We have to try it," Gwen said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "The ritual. It's our only shot to stop this." Finney nodded, though his stomach twisted. The notes say blood and fire. But what's the heart? The phone itself. Gwen traced a line in the notes. "It says the heart holds the voice. Maybe it's inside the phone, or it's something else." She shivered, remembering the woman's voice on the line. Cold and venomous, they decided to act fast. Harrow's notes mentioned a circle of salt and a fire to cleanse the anchor. They gathered supplies, salt from the kitchen, matches, a knife for the blood. Finney hesitated at the knife, but Gwen was firm. "A few drops, Finn. We've been through worse." They chose the apartment's basement, a cramped space with concrete walls to keep the ritual contained. They poured a salt circle, placed the black phone in the center, and lit candles around it. The air grew heavy, like a storm was trapped in the room. Gwen read the words from Harrow's notes, a chant in a language neither understood, her voice, shaking but loud. Finney cut his palm, wincing as blood dripped onto the phone. "Burn the heart," he muttered, lighting a match. He held it to the phone, but the plastic didn't catch. Instead, the flame flickered, then died. The candles went out too, plunging them into darkness. The phone rang. Gwen gasped, dropping the notes. Finney grabbed the knife, heart pounding. The ringing grew louder, vibrating the floor. A voice came through, not from the receiver, but from the air itself. Multiple voices, overlapping, screaming, "You can't burn us. You can't cut us." Shadows moved in the dark, shapes of kids, their faces pale and twisted. Tommy's voice whispered, "You left me." "Finney," Sarah's voice hissed, "why didn't you come?" And then the grabbers laughed, low and cruel. "You thought you won, boy." Gwen grabbed Finney's arm, pulling him out of the circle. The salt scattered, and the voices grew louder. The basement door slammed shut, trapping them again. Finney swung the knife at the shadows, but it passed through nothing. The phone glowed faintly, its cord slithering like a snake. Then, a new sound, footsteps above. The Echo. He'd been waiting. The door creaked open, and his horn mask appeared in the dim light. "You woke it up," he said, stepping down. "The phone's hungry now." Finney charged, knife raised, but the Echo was faster, knocking it from his hand. Gwen threw a candle at him, missing but distracting him long enough for Finney to tackle him. They wrestled, crashing into the wall. The phone kept ringing, and the shadows closed in, their cold hands brushing Finney's skin. Gwen grabbed the phone and ran upstairs, Finney following. They locked the basement door, but the Echo's laughter echoed through. "You can't run." From the call, he shouted. They fled the apartment, clutching the phone and Harrow's notes. In the car, Gwen panted. The ritual failed because we don't know the heart. It's not the phone, it's something else. Finney's hands grip the wheel. Then we find it. Before he does. But as they drove, the car radio crackled. The woman's voice whispered, "You're running out of time." Finney drove through the dark streets, the black phone on the seat between him and Gwen. Its silence was worse than its ringing, like it was waiting. Harrow's notes were crumpled in Gwen's lap, her fingers tracing the same cryptic line. Cut the cord and burn the heart. The failed ritual in the basement had unleashed something worse: ghostly faces, voices, and the echo. Always one step behind. "We're missing something," Gwen said, her voice hoarse. "The heart isn't the phone. It's alive, somehow." Finney's hands tightened on the wheel. Harrow's notes mentioned a deal. Maybe the heart is what he gave to make the phone work. His fear, his soul something. Gwen's eyes lit up. The mill. He hid his notes there for a reason. Maybe the heart's there too. They turned toward the old mill. The only place left to look. The night was thick with fog, and the river nearby gurgled like a low voice. The mill loomed ahead, its broken windows like empty eyes. They grabbed flashlights and the knife, leaving the phone in the car. If the heart was here, they destroy it and end this inside. The air was damp and cold, their flashlights cut through the dark, catching rusted gears and rotting beams. Gwen pointed to the floor where they found the notes. "There's more here. I feel it." They pried up more boards, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small, tarnished box, etched with strange symbols. Finney opened it, and a wave of cold hit them. Inside was a coiled phone cord, blackened and pulsing faintly, like a living thing. A note was tucked beside it. "The heart binds." The voice, "Burn it, and the deal breaks." "This is it," Finney whispered. "The heart." Before they could move, the mill shook. A low hum filled the air, and the cord in the box twitched. Shadows formed: Tommy, Sarah, other kids, their eyes hollow. The grabber's voice hissed from nowhere, "You can't take it. It's mine." The echo stepped from the darkness, his horn mask glinting. He held the black phone, its cord trailing like a leash. "You're too late," he said. "The phone chose me. It feeds on you now." Finney grabbed the box, but the echo lunged, knocking him down. The knife skidded across the floor. Gwen screamed, throwing her flashlight at the echo's head. It hit, and he staggered, giving Finney time to grab the knife and stand. The shadows closed in, their cold hands clawing at Finney and Gwen. The phone rang, its sound deafening, shaking the mill. Gwen grabbed the box and ran to a rusted furnace. In the corner, "Fire!" she shouted. "We burn it." Finney held off the echo, dodging his fists and swinging the knife. The blade caught the echo's arm, and he howled, dropping the phone. It hit the floor and cracked, but the ringing didn't stop. The shadows screamed, their faces twisting into something not human. Gwen poured gasoline from a can they brought and threw the cord into the furnace. She lit a match, hands shaking, and dropped it. Flames roared, and the cord writhed like a snake, burning black. The voices screamed louder, then faded. The shadows vanished, and the ringing stopped. The echo fell to his knees, clutching his mask. "No, it's not over," he gasped, but his voice was weaker. "Human." Finney kicked the phone away, and Gwen grabbed it, smashing it against the furnace until it was just plastic shards. The mill was silent. The echo tried to stand, but Finney tackled him, pinning him down. Gwen tore off the mask, revealing a man ordinary, pale, with wild eyes. "It made me," he whispered. "The phones it promised." They tied him up with old ropes and called the police. As they waited, the furnace fire died, leaving only ash. The box was empty, the cord gone. The phone's power was broken. Days later, the police found Tommy and Sarah, alive but shaken, in an abandoned house. The echo, whose real name was Daniel Kane, confessed to the kidnappings, babbling about voices in his head. The town called it a miracle, But Finney and Gwen knew better. They never spoke of the phone again. But sometimes, late at night, Gwen swore she heard a faint ring, like an echo that wouldn't die.